Have you ever had a money or career question you really wanted to ask, but didn't know who to go to or just felt uncomfortable even bringing it up? You're not alone. Talking about money can feel intimidating, even scary. And that's exactly what I'm trying to change. That's why I created a free virtual coffee chat, a casual, no pressure 20-minute conversation where you can bring one thing you're wrestling with and we'll talk it through. No judgment, no jargon, no sales pitch, just clarity, ease, and a real answer from someone who gets it. If you've got something on your mind, don't sit in the confusion. Book a spot at limitfreelife.com and let's sip and sort it out. Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Money and You Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host, and so happy to be with you today. It's just going to be me today, no additional experts. And so I wanted to come on and just very quickly, I always like to do shorter shows when it's just me, quickly talk to you about something that is really in my consciousness and something I'm thinking a lot about, which is alignment with money. I hadn't really put those terms together so much, and I've actually been speaking with an alignment coach, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but it certainly is. And she's about aligning your energy, getting in the flow of what you want, and really not blocking yourself with misalignment. And if all of that sounds like just kind of gobbledygook in your ears right now, I'm going to try to explain a little bit about what I'm talking about, because I really think that this is incredibly important for everyone to give some thought to, because we can set goals and we can strategize and plan and even take action and make some good financial decisions. But without that energetic alignment, we're probably going to make some mistakes along the way. And I look back on my life after talking to this coach, even for 1 hour, she got me thinking about things. And so I want to get you thinking about things, because this is how we really evolve and make progress in terms of our relationship with money, is we really start paying attention. We get very self-aware. We get very familiar with our habits and our patterns and kind of how we think and how we speak to ourselves and others about money. And when you start slowly shifting how you do all of that, it makes a huge difference. You don't have to have a big overnight, transformation. Just slowly chipping away at some of the things that you're doing that may be holding you back, that may be creating some of this friction or misalignment that is causing you to kind of butt up against some of your repeat habits with money. It's all super interesting, which is why I got into this, because I had a very practical financial background. I was a CPA and a corporate finance and accounting executive for 15 years. And nobody ever talked to me about this psychological, emotional mindset piece of it all, which is it really is the most important piece. It is the key to doing better financially. Some people sort of know it intuitively. They just sort of have this understanding, and so the decisions they make are more in flow. And other people really need to learn it. I think most people do. I needed to. So I really, the show is all about educating people and providing, a lot of general financial information, and very much about helping you with your relationship with money. I really hope that you'll take away from the show ideas for ways to invest your money, ideas for ways to do everything from, budgeting to investing to you name it. I have a lot of wonderful guests who come on talking about all kinds of different ways to do all of the different financial things. But I really hope that you also are realizing that nothing works that well unless you have a really good relationship with your money. And for most of us, that means working on that relationship and improving it, because most of us just don't automatically wind up with a great relationship with money. It's something that we have to even first accept that we have this relationship, that it is one of our relationships, and then work on it, and then, see what's wrong with it, see what can be improved, and start doing that work. So let me just tell you a little, and again, I'm working with an expert. I'm not an expert in this, but she just turned on some light bulb in my brain that said, alignment is a little bit of the missing piece, partly for me, partly, obviously, it's going to be a missing piece for many people. So I'm bringing this to you mostly because I think maybe you haven't thought about this before, as I hadn't. And so I want you to start thinking about it. You might not know what to do with it at the moment, but of course, once we put something like this out there and put it in our brains, and we start asking questions about it, like, what does alignment really mean? Like, how do I get more alignment? Am I misaligned in some ways that I'm not seeing that's holding me back? Once we start thinking about these things, you'll see the podcast, the books, the comments about it are going to start, showing up in your life, and you can get curious and you can start studying up on this a little bit and really reflecting. This is a great area to journal in, and we'll talk about that after I talk a little more about this, because what alignment with money it means consciously structuring how you do money, how you earn, how you spend, how you invest, how you give money away. All of that needs to reflect your values and your goals. So it's interesting sometimes to think of, what are my values and my goals? And this was something that I came across. So one of my big values is freedom. I love the idea that people can live lives that are on their terms. They can work in fields that give them purpose. They can work in a way that they choose to work. Work has always been a big passion of mine, how people choose their work. That's how I started my company, is helping people to choose work that they would love. And because not everybody has that. So in that regard, if you have purpose and if you have certain values and you have certain intentions and goals, those have to align with how you're thinking and acting with money. So let me give you an example. If you, for example, think pretty critically of people who have money, so you're looking at these people out there that you see on the news or whatever, and they have a lot of money, and you're thinking, wow, those are terrible people. Like, I do not ever want to I don't want to be one of them. And money is how, what turns them into whatever you're seeing out there that you don't like. If you have that, if you're going to be misaligned with any goals that you might have for acquiring wealth and being wealthy, because you don't really want to be those people. So there's a shift, because obviously you don't have to be those people. You can be you and have a lot of money and do all kinds of things with it that you do approve of or that are aligned with your values. But if you're continually saying to yourself, wow, I just cannot stand those people, who have all this money and what they do, there is a misalignment there. How is the energy that needs to flow and align going to come to you if that's kind of your energy, that's what you're focused on, that's where your energy is going, to these thoughts and feelings about those people, and you don't want to be one of those people. So we have to work on this, what do I want versus what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and those two have to tie together. So if I say that one of my great values is freedom, but I'm setting things up in my life that doesn't actually bring me the freedom that I want, maybe it's my job, maybe it's the way I work, maybe it is something, maybe it's something else, maybe it is the way I'm using my money. If I want freedom to do certain things, but I have no control over my money, if I'm not budgeting, if I'm overspending, if I'm not earning enough, then how do you gain that freedom? That freedom is tied to the resources we have. The more resources we have, the more we can do, and the more freedom we can have, and the more, we can achieve what we want and enjoy what we want. Everything isn't just about work. So there's this, you can't compartmentalize energy is one of the things that this woman was talking about. So if you have a misalignment in your personal life, that's going to flow into your business and vice versa. So, energy isn't put into these different boxes and places in our life. It's all flowing freely throughout. So it's very, very important to think, okay, my business might be, on purpose, and I'm doing it the way I want. I'm working with the people I want, and it might feel really good. But if your personal life is sort of, going through a lot, or there's a particular problem going on there, that issue will still flow through to your business and affect it in one way or another. And this is where the journaling can come in, because it's really interesting to think, okay, what is it that I want? Which is always the first step. I've talked about that a lot, because a lot of times we don't really know clearly and specifically what we want. So the important thing is to put a vision together. And I had just put together an actual workbook to help people, actually using AI a little bit. You don't have to, but it's kind of a great assist, actually, to write up their vision, to think through a series of questions, ask themselves a bunch of questions, list out those answers, and then either summarize the answers yourself or put it into a chat or Claude or whatever you use, and see what it comes up with. And actually, I have mine in front of me. It comes up with a beautiful sort of summary of your life. You can, of course, edit it and change it. But I was really impressed with how much it took a lot of information, summarized it down to kind of a one-page vision for my intentions. So I wanted to give that to people. And so I put this together, and I'll include a link in the show notes so that you can actually access it and use it. It's really a great thing to have. It's a great thing to have in front of you so that you can go back and remind yourself. Sometimes our intentions, we get off track with things that come up in our lives. So you can recenter on that and get that clear and specific like you need. And then you can use that vision, and you can ask yourself, how am I relating to money? And how is that aligned with this vision? Because you'll know pretty quickly if there are some misalignments. You'll see them, and if you don't see them right away, start journaling. How am I doing this with my money? How am I spending money? How am I earning money? Am I earning enough? What is enough? When you look at that vision, you can then you could actually quantify everything that you want and do some projections and see. But what do you really want, and is the way you're thinking aligned? So how are you thinking about it? If you're saying, I want to earn X amount of money, but you're really thinking, I don't know how to earn that kind of money. I don't know where I would go or what I would do to earn that kind of money. That's where you want to sit down and get some more alignment. Or worse, if you're thinking, wow, nobody in my family's ever made that kind of money. I don't think it's possible for somebody like me. That's a misalignment. That kind of thinking is going to limit you. And you can kind of see how you've got intentions over here, you've got thinking over here, and your thinking is taking you here, and your intentions are saying, I want to go here, and you're just going to miss. So there are many, many ways to think about alignment. There are ways that, you're interacting with people. How are you doing your relationships? What are you thinking about the people who help you, for example, in your business? Maybe there's a misalignment there. If you're thinking these people are never going to get me where I need to go, they're just not right. They're not doing what I need them to do. But you've got this big vision on the other side. Again, there's a misalignment with how you're thinking about it, how you feel. You want to check in and see how you're feeling. Even if you try to logically tell yourself this is all a good idea, but you feel kind of like queasy about it and you're not really sure. Your gut is telling you to give some more thought to this. So a few key aspects of money alignment. You have values-based spending. This is a little more practical for you if you kind of want to go from a little woo-woo to a little more like how to think about this practically. directing money toward experiences or things that bring you joy and purpose, that will help you align. If you're spending on things that don't bring you joy or not aligned with your purpose, but you think you should be spending on those things, that you might want to rethink a little bit there. So you don't want people pressuring you to have the fancy car when all you really want is to spend money on something else, on trips, on more education, whatever that is. So again, where are you spending, and is that aligned with who you want to be and where you want to go? A lot of this is who you want to be. If you're trying to be somebody else, you're misaligned for sure. So if you want to think about how your goals are being set too. If you're setting goals because, wow, my neighbor does this and it looks really cool, I should do it too. You need to align with yourself. That's a really important piece of this. And so you have to get to know yourself and your vision, and then align with who you are without any regard to what advertisers are telling you or other people are showing you out there. And this is really important. This is a big problem in such a consumer-ish society that we live in. It's hard sometimes for us to even know what we want, because we see what everybody's telling us we should want, but we aren't necessarily really focusing in on what matters to us. Because what matters to us is really the only thing that matters. Let's be real. Conscious investing and banking, that's another place where we can align ourselves. There are a lot of places right now, and then we see this happening. We see this happening with some of the pressure to, maybe stop using certain companies that don't have the same values as us. And, so that's a really important thing too. Where are you spending your money? Do you want to spend it on those particular companies or items? Really, really important. So it's not just, it's all kinds of values, really, is what we're saying. So an intentionality and clarity, that is incredibly important. Moving away from impulsive or fear-based financial decisions is huge. That is a really purposeful way and a conscious way to spend money. And, just think, you might think you do that, but check your spending and see if you really are. A lot of things that we spend money on are frivolous, or we're not even really paying attention. We live in this subscription society where we've got all kinds of subscriptions that half the time we don't use them, or we don't even know what they are. So that's not intentional. That's just kind of what happens with the way we purchase these days. So look at that. Get again clear and intentional. And if you're thinking in terms of a purpose-driven life, then you need purpose-driven wealth. They go together. They're in alignment if you make them become in alignment. And so using money as a tool to get the lifestyle that you want, and again, the joy, the purpose, the support that, being able to support causes and things that you care about, that is really important. That's where you align. So, in summary, it's really about figuring out who you are, figuring out what your vision is, and just making sure that the way you spend your money isn't random, it's more intentional, and it's focused on those things, your values, your goals, and the things that bring you joy and purpose. So, and I think if you start looking at it, it's interesting to see where your money's going. It is, if you write those things down and then you check your money on the other side, you've got your goals on one side of a page and where your money is going on another, and you start connecting those dots, I think you'll find some savings. So, and you might find some other places where you'd rather invest. So maybe savings, maybe just moving things around, but it's going to be satisfying because you're going to have this feeling of alignment, and energy that feels good is more in flow. And it also allows more of what you want to be attracted to you. So I'll keep you posted on what I learned from my new alignment coach. And I'm super excited about this. I feel like it's a little bit of a next level on the whole idea of money mindset and your relationship with money. So I'm excited. I'm going to be sharing it with you because I want you to use this in your life to benefit you in every way, spiritually, emotionally, financially. It all goes together. Again, we can't compartmentalize those things. So that energy is flowing between all of them. And I think even just that shift alone is super important. So thank you for listening. And I will put the link to that vision prompting workbook in the show notes, and you can access that if you like. I think that alone, whether you care about alignment or not, whether you care about money or not, frankly, it's a vision for your life. So if you're thinking about a career transition or you're trying to grow your business, this is a very, very, really good exercise for you to do regardless. And you can do it for your personal life, you can do it for your business life, and then you can have AI pull those together and see how your business can support your personal life, which is what I did, and I really love that. So thank you so much for listening, and you can find the Money and You Show every week on all the podcast platforms, and you can find us on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel. So please subscribe, rate and review the show, and share it with your friends. We would love to grow this show more. I think it's bringing a lot of value to a lot of people. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.